We are Bob Brigade and I am Rod here to help you make money with your 3D printer. We're going to talk today about pricing. Now there's one major way that everybody online suggests on how to price, and that is to price by charging for every single small thing that goes into your 3D printed item. Now this is a very good way to price if you're going to make an item that's going to take you a very long time, a lot of post-processing, and it's going to be a one-off, very artistic niche thing. I would suggest that, yeah, absolutely do that. But if you're going to print everyday items like, say, a video game controller, I would suggest that you don't charge in this way. Here is my method of charging when it comes to wanting to sell for volume, so making your money in volume of sales and not in, a few expensive items. And the way I would suggest that you charge is to charge 3 times what it cost you. And by cost, I mean only charge for the amount of plastic it took you to make that item and the amount of electricity it took you to make the item. Don't charge for anything else, and then simply times that by 3 and then sell at that price. Now, why do I say this? So let me give you some background. Before 3D printing, I made the majority of my income through reselling. So I would go to yard sales and I would go to garage sales and even eBay, and thrift stores. I would buy items and then I would resell those items on the internet or Facebook Market. So the way I would resell those items was to charge 3 times what I paid for them. Now, why 3 times what I paid for them? Well, 1/3 of that is obviously paying yourself back for the item. The other third of that is the money that goes in your pocket. The third of that is the fees and the shipping of that item. Doing it this way, the 3 times what it costs you method, doing it this way allows you also to be a bit lenient on the price. So say for example, I bought an item for $5. Then I have to resell that item for $15. But if I sell that item locally, I don't sell it on eBay where there's fees, but I sell it locally, then I don't need to pay for shipping. I don't need to pay for fees. So therefore, I can theoretically charge $10 for that item because I only have to pay myself back and then make 100% of my money. So that's an 100% return there. I spent $5 and now I'm making $10. So I'm making a 100% return on my investment. Right? So I'm doubling my money every time I sell something. And that's my aim. The other thing is you can also charge less because say you're like, well, I just need to sell this item, so I'm going to make $2 on this item. That's okay. You still made some money on that item, or else that item would just sit there in your storage and collect dust. So you want to make some money on that item. And that's my thinking when I resell. And so that's the same thinking that I've brought into my 3D printing business. Why don't I charge for every single little thing? Is because I don't feel the need to charge for every single little thing. I think that the more things you sell, the more money you'll make. So the better price the item is, the more of those items you're going to actually sell. And that's the mentality, making the money on the amount of sales, not selling a few items for a lot of money. And I think in my experience of reselling, that actually works better and you end up actually making more money in the end. You might be thinking like, oh, but there's wear and tear on my machine and there's, other costs like post-processing, like my time spent taking off the support of the item I'm selling, or other small little things like that. Why don't you charge for that? Well, when I resell, if you ask anybody, there's tons of people making tons of money reselling. And if you ask them, you're going to find out that they don't charge for the amount of time it took them to drive. They don't charge for gas or maintenance on their car to drive to the garage sale. They don't charge you for looking for the item. They don't charge you for, the knowledge it takes to learn about certain items, go looking for those specific items to then resell. Nobody charges for those extra steps, even though those extra steps are time consuming. There's real money spent there on the gas. There's real money spent there on holding items in a storage. You don't get charged for those in the end. But so many people are making so much money on reselling. Don't charge for these little small things, but rather just try to make your money on the amount of items that you sell. So this is my suggestion to you, right? Make items, like we talked about in other videos, make items that don't take a lot of time to post-process. Make items that are very easy, where you could maybe possibly automate your machine. That's the easiest way for you to supplement your income with 3D printing. If you're an artist and you're about the art, if you're meticulous about getting every single little detail to look perfect, this kind of pricing, it's just not going to work for you. It's not going to be worth it for you. But if your aim is just to supplement your income with 3D printed items, this is the way that I think you need to price. So remember that, right? 3 times what it costs you. It's okay, so how do you figure out how much the item actually costs you? So if you go on your slicer on Cura, which is the one I'm familiar with, you go on Cura and you slice your parts, and then at the bottom you'll see a preview. You preview that, and then it'll tell you how many meters of plastic the item's going to use up to be printed, right? It's an estimation. So every single roll of filament has about 335 meters of filament inside of it. So basically what you do is you just divide the amount of filament, 335, by the amount of filament it's going to take you to make the item, and you divide them by each other, and then you get a certain number. So what you do is you say, how much did the roll of filament cost me? So say the roll of filament cost you $20. Okay, so let's do the math here, right? So we take an item, say our item is going to take up, our estimation on our slicer is that our item is going to take up 100 meters of plastic, right? Every roll has 335 approximated, divided by 100. That means that with one roll, you can make 3.35 items, right? You can make that 3 times with one roll of filament. So then what you do is you take the amount of money that it cost you. So say my filament roll cost me $22. So it's $22, right? Because of taxes. So then you divide that by 3.35, because that's how many of the items you could make in a roll. So the item costs you $6.56 of plastic. That's just plastic to make. And then you estimate maybe 50 cents, let's say, for electricity, because that's going to be really hard to figure out the electricity amount. So I would just make an arbitrary number there, whatever you think, like 25 cents, 50 cents, whatever. So this item cost me, let's say, $6.75, right? So I take $6.75 and I times that by 3, and then I have $20.25. So that's how much I want to charge for this item. That would be my golden ratio of this item. So how do you figure out if an item is actually worth it? Is you see if it fits in this ratio of $20, right? So I made an item for $6.75. Is this item even worth selling? And this is where we can figure that out. How much is that item going to take for me to ship, for example? So if I ship that item and it costs me $20 to ship it, obviously it's not worth it. It's not worth making the item. But if the item is within my golden ratio to ship and for the fees, then that might be a really good item to sell, right? So say you got something small, like this SD card holder here, and this super small, so it might cost you $3-4 to ship, and then the fees on this, for eBay, because it's going to be like $20. It's not going to be that much money. It's going to be $2. So you're at $3-4-5. You're at $6. $5-6. So this fits into our golden ratio. But will somebody buy this for $20? And that's what you got to figure out. So those are the type of items that you have to make. Is you got to figure out, will this fit in my golden ratio, and will this be an item that people will be willing to pay that much for? Now you can bring this price down, and you can bring this price down 2 ways. You can bring this price down by selling somewhere where there are no fees and no shipping. That's locally on, say, things like Offer Up, Facebook Market. So then I would just charge $6.75 times 2. That's $13.50. I would put this item on Facebook Market for $13.50 and be like, pick up only. So then that way you don't have to worry about any fees. You don't have to worry about shipping. The person can just come and pick it up at your house. Is this item worth coming to your house to pick up for $13.50? That's something else you got to think about, right? So where's the other way that you can bring the price down? You can bring the price down on how much you want to make on the item. So if I say, you know what, I'm good with just making $2 on this item, then good. sell the item for less. And the thing is, you'll sell more items. And so, you have to figure out if that's worth it for you. There is a third way to bring the price down, and that third way is to get materials for cheaper. So like we talked about in the other video, there's places you can go where you can get filament for cheaper. And like we talked in previous videos, there are certain plastics that cost less, and I would suggest that you stick with those plastics. So if you can bring down the cost of making the item, you can bring down the fees and the shipping, then you're absolutely making bank, man. And I think you can do this, I do this, you can do this, we can all do this. And there's enough money out there for all of us to be making our income solely on 3D printing and spending our time with our family and not spending our times 8, 10, 12 hours at a job that we absolutely despise. So there is a way, and honestly, if I'm being super honest with you, people will buy absolutely anything. People will buy absolutely anything that you sell. If it's priced in the right price range, you can absolutely sell anything. And I've sold absolutely everything, and I can guarantee you, if it's priced correctly, someone will buy it. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it's a useless item. Somebody will absolutely buy it. And you can make money if it's priced correctly. So, hope this helps you guys. Leave a comment below. Let me know if you got some questions or whatever. I'm down to conversate. But yeah, love you guys. Make some money.